Hey guys, what is up? Back with another video. Today we have another sneaker review for you guys. This is a shoe that was actually pretty highly anticipated, and I was pretty surprised about that. I thought this was going to be a shoe that, you know, would sell out but wouldn't be like super hyped up or super hard to get, but that actually wasn't the case. You guys are probably asking, what is this shoe? It is the Air Jordan 12, the Master. So guys, the Air Jordan 12 The Master, as you guys probably know, released this Saturday, February 27th, so only 2 days ago. I was able to get my pair on release day in the morning at Champ Sports, my local Champ Sports, for retail, obviously, and it was a pretty easy cop for me. But what I'm hearing from tons of you guys, I did a pickup video for these on Saturday. If you haven't watched that already and you would like to, there is a button in the top right-hand corner of the screen, but I did a pickup video for these on Saturday, and tons of you guys were saying that they were super hard to get. There was huge lines at your mall, there was fights at the mall, you weren't able to get them, people were trying to resell them straight out the door of Foot Locker, and apparently it was a really crazy release and was actually sort of hard to get. Apparently they sold out really quick online as well, and that is really surprising for me because, you know, this isn't an OG colorway, it doesn't even look anything like an OG colorway, but apparently people are really feeling this Air Jordan Master 12. So as I was saying, it was really hyped up, but where I was, you know, I got there an hour and 20 minutes before the store opened. There was only like 6 or 7 people ahead of me in line, and it was just a really easy, orderly line. No one was freaking out. Everyone got their pairs, obviously, and it was a really easy pair of shoes to get. This is one of my favorite Jordan releases of the year, so I guess I sort of do understand why it's really hyped up. But generally, I like a lot of stuff that ends up sitting on shelves, and people always say, oh, why are you buying those? They sit on shelves, but this is a pair of shoes that actually ended up selling out. Before we even get into the shoe, guys, I need to take a look at the packaging of this shoe because this is one of the best packaging jobs the Jordan brand has done in recent memory on a GR. Of course, you have your Just Dons and your public schools and your, you know, OVOs and stuff that are obviously going to have amazing packaging, but just on a regular GR, taking a look at the box, they gave this vintage feel. I think this is basically the OG box that these came in 1997, except the original would have had a Nike on the top instead of the Jumpman logo, but you have this sort of brown, and then you have your reddish maroon on the sides, almost a clay. I think it's more of a clay color, and on the back of the box it says quality inspired by the greatest player ever, and you actually do have a retro card in this pair of sneakers. This is the poster that the shoe is themed after, which is really, really cool. You can see that it says the Master there, and Jordan's wearing his Taxi 12s, so since that poster is in black and white, they wanted to theme the shoe after that poster, and they made it predominantly black and white with that little bit of gold there. As you can see, there is a bit of gold in the retro card in the center as well, so that is really, really cool. The paper, even, they actually went in on the paper and made it sort of a yellowed vintage look, like it used to be white paper 20 years ago, but it's yellowed with age, and now it's supposed to look vintage. I think they did an amazing job on the packaging. I'm an absolute huge fan of that. Like, just those little touches on a pair of shoes. I didn't even know it came with that yellowed paper. I didn't know it came with the retro card. I knew it came with the box, but the box looks even cooler in person than it did in pictures and videos. So I'm a huge fan of that. Little things that Jordan brand can do to make the shoe a lot more enjoyable overall. Taking a look at it, we're going to start on the outsole. You have this all black outsole for the most part. You do have your little white hits up at the toe with your 23 and of course your Michael Air Jordan dunking, if you will, and you have your carbon fiber shank plate, which is actually a full-length shank, and on this colorway of the Air Jordan 12 it is in a black and white color. I really like the way this looks on the bottom. It sort of breaks up that mostly black, and it provides a nice little bit of contrast. Even though you're not going to see the bottom, it does look very, very cool. Moving on to the upper of the shoe, you have basically all black, like 99% of the shoe is black, but it looks very nice nonetheless. It is a pretty nice leather. It's a hard leather, but it's not a bad leather. Lots of people get that confused. You can find $800 dress shoes that have very stiff, firm leather, but it's an extremely good quality leather. The softness of a leather is not always the quality of the leather. So you can have a firm leather that's still good, and that's what you have in this case. You know, it's a firm leather, but it's not a terrible cardboard leather like you've had on past Jordan releases. You do have that little white hit there saying Jumpman, which is the only thing that breaks up the color on the upper. Moving on to the tongue, of course you have your 2-3 stitched onto the tongue in white. That's one of my favorite parts of the Air Jordan 12, how it says 2-3 on the tongue. You also have your white Jumpman stitched on, and black rope laces as well. My favorite part of this shoe, and I think a lot of other people's favorite parts, are these gold eyelets up at the top. Now these have the tendency to fall off, which is really unfortunate. Like, I don't think they'll fall off if you're just wearing them casually, but if you do try and play basketball in these and lace them tightly, these do have the tendency to fall off because they are only glued on there. They're plastic, not metal. Only the original release back in '97 actually had metal eyelets up there, which is really unfortunate. I was sort of hoping that with the remastered program they'd actually put that back to metal. That would have been really, really cool, but they didn't, so there's not much you can do about that. On the heel of the shoe though, this is a really cool part as well. Of course you have your 23 on the bottom just like you do on the rest of the Jordan 12s, but you have this patch here that says Jordan quality inspired by the greatest player ever. And what I really like about this is they went with black and off-white. I really like how they chose off-white instead of just a pure white here. It really carries over the vintage feel that you got from the packaging onto this pair of shoes, because I thought the packaging was amazing, how vintage it looked, and they carried it over onto this pair of shoes with the little heel tab there in off-white. The sock liner is all black with your white Jumpman. That is pretty much all you need to know about how the shoe looks. I think the quality is pretty good for $190. Is it worth it? You know, I'd say it's more worth it than some of the Jordans that have come out in the past. It's a really nice colorway of this sneaker. I'm a huge fan of it. This is going to be a shoe that I'm going to be wearing a whole bunch. Like, just look at it. It's black, it's gold, you have your little hit of white. At first, to be completely honest, when I saw pictures, I was not a fan of that piece of white, but now that I get them in hand, I actually like it. It breaks up the color a little bit. Otherwise, I think it would just look like a black boot, but this little bit of white sort of breaks up the color and lets you see the details a little bit more. But I'm going to be showing you guys what these look like on feet now. Unfortunately, the pants that I would ideally want to wear with these are currently at the tailors, so I'm going to have to do some pants that I might not have as my first choice to wear with this pair of sneakers, but nonetheless, I'm going to show you what they look like on feet. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. So until then, peace.